You know that feeling when there's something huge being hidden from you, but you can't prove it? So what if I told you that in the basements of the Vatican, under lock and key, there are ancient maps that show things about Africa that have never been revealed to the public? Maps that indicate the locations of underground temples, lost libraries, tunnels that cross entire continents, and secrets that, if revealed, would completely change the history you learned in school. Today I'm going to show you evidence that the Vatican knows much more about the African subsoil than any government, any university, and that they have been guarding it for centuries. Why? Because revealing this information would be admitting that Africa was not just the cradle of humanity, but the center of an advanced civilization that existed long before any European empire. And look, if you like this type of content that messes with power structures and goes deep into real conspiracies, leave a like and subscribe, because there are many more secrets to be revealed here. Now get ready, because what comes next will make you question everything you know about history, religion, and power. The library was silent that morning, with only the soft sound of pages turning and muffled footsteps resounding on the marble floor. Young Father Matteo, one of the few authorized to access certain sections of the Apostolic Archive, moved with a determined purpose. He carried a set of keys, each uniquely shaped, hanging from a lanyard around his neck. His hands were slightly shaking as he approached a heavy door, marked with ancient symbols that only a few understood. Father Matteo, called a firm voice behind him. It was Cardinal Ricci, an imposing figure, known for his rigid posture and penetrating gaze. Are you prepared for what you might find inside? Matteo hesitated for a moment, adjusting his glasses before responding. Yes, Eminence. I know there is much to be seen and understood. With your permission, I hope to find answers. Ricci gave a slight nod, her eyes fixed on the young priest. Remember, Matteo, what lies beyond these doors is not just history. It is power, and power needs to be wielded wisely. With a careful movement, Matteo inserted the key into the lock. A dull click reverberated as he turned the key, and the door slowly opened, revealing a dark room. Old books and rolled-up maps were stacked on shelves to the ceiling. The air was heavy, filled with the smell of aged paper and faded ink. Matteo entered, turning on a small lamp he was carrying. His eyes fell on a central table, where a set of carefully organized maps sat. He unfolded one of them, revealing a detailed map of the African continent, clearly dating back centuries. "This is extraordinary," Matteo muttered to himself, his fingers tracing lines that showed not only the surface, but also what lay beneath it. Tunnels that intertwined like roots beneath the earth. The cardinal entered silently, watching as Matteo examined the map. "What do you see, Father?" "I see a puzzle," Matteo replied, frowning. "These tunnels and chambers, it seems like they were made for a purpose. But what?" Ricci approached, her expression impenetrable. "There are many rumors about what is hidden there. Some believe they are just natural formations, others that they house ancient secrets, perhaps even relics." Matteo looked at the cardinal, his curiosity piqued. "And you, Eminence? What do you believe?" Ricci gave a slight smile, crossing her arms. "I believe there are truths that the world is not ready to know, and it is our duty to protect these truths until the time is right." Matteo turned his attention to the map, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "I'll need more time to study this." "You will," Ricci assured, placing a hand on Matteo's shoulder. "But remember, Matteo, you are not alone. We are all in this quest together." With that, Ricci turned away, leaving Matteo alone with the maps and the mystery they held. The young priest knew that this journey was just beginning, and that each discovery could change not only his understanding of the past, but also the future that awaited him. The sun was setting when Matteo met with Cardinal Ricci again, this time in a small room situated away from the prying eyes of the other members of the clergy. The table between them was covered with old documents, some clearly deteriorated by age, and a small stack of black and white photographs. "Matteo," Ricci began, leaning forward, "what he found on the maps confirms many of the rumors that have been circulating for decades." Matteo looked at the photos, recognizing some of the landscapes described on the maps he had studied. It appears that there is a network of tunnels and chambers throughout Africa, but why is the Vatican so interested in this? Ricci sighed, choosing her words carefully. There is knowledge that has been lost to the modern world. Knowledge that if it falls into the wrong hands, could unbalance the power as we know it. Matteo held up one of the photos. These tunnels, do you believe they were made by ancient civilizations? Or is there something more? What I can tell you, Ricci replied, is that some of the structures predate any known civilization, and some inscriptions, well, they are from languages we have no record of. Matteo frowned, intrigued. What about these discoveries that disappeared? How is it possible that nothing has come to light? Influence, young man, Ricci replied with a tone of gravity. Influence and the power to keep certain secrets buried. Father Matteo was silent, absorbing the magnitude of what was being revealed. So what do we do now? What we do, Ricci stated, is continue our investigation. There are more maps, more documents that need to be analyzed. We need to be prepared for what may come. Matteo nodded, feeling the responsibility rising within him. What about what we already know? Should we tell someone? Ricci laughed softly but without humor. Who would believe us? No. For now, this should stay between us, until we have something concrete. That night, as Matteo walked back through the silent halls of the Vatican, he couldn't help but think of the stories of frustrated archaeologists and missing discoveries. There was a much larger network of secrets than he had ever imagined. The next day, Matteo returned to the archive, determined to delve even deeper into the documents. He knew that by investigating the mysteries of Africa, he was engaging in something that could transform the understanding of human history. But he also knew he was treading on dangerous ground, where the past and present were intrinsically linked. As he opened another map, this time focusing on a different area, a thought struck him. What if these tunnels and chambers were part of something bigger, something that went beyond archaeology, touching the frontiers of faith and power? He had no answers, but he was determined to find them. And so, with each new discovery, Matteo moved closer to the heart of the mystery, guided by a mixture of curiosity and a sense of duty that he could not ignore. Dusk was casting long shadows over the city of Rome when Matteo met Cardinal Ricci again, this time in an even more hidden room, far from the busy corridors of the Vatican. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation, and Matteo was about to be confronted with one of the most intriguing stories he had ever heard. "Father Matteo," began Ricci, with a gravity that left no room for doubt, "there's a story you need to hear. It's about a man named Giuseppe Moretti." Matteo frowned. The name was unfamiliar to him. "Who was he, Eminence?" Ricci crossed her arms, her eyes fixed on the young priest. "A cartographer. He worked in the Vatican archives for years. In 1952, he did something few had the courage to do. He absconded with copies of documents that were never supposed to see the light of day." Matteo leaned forward, his interest clearly piqued. "What kind of documents?" "Maps," Ricci replied, her voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. "Maps that detailed a vast network of tunnels beneath the African continent. But these were no ordinary tunnels." Suddenly, the air in the room felt thicker, and Matteo felt the weight of revelation. What was special about these tunnels? Ricci leaned back in her chair, measuring her words. They were built by an ancient civilization, long before any other known, and one of the maps pointed to a place called Library of Thoth. "Library of Thoth," Matteo repeated, trying to process the information. "What would that be?" "An underground chamber in Egypt," Ricci explained, "where original texts about the origins of humanity, the true story of Christ, and scientific knowledge that defy everything we know are supposedly kept." Matteo fell silent, the magnitude of the revelation leaving him speechless for a moment. "And what happened to Moretti?" "His fate was tragic," replied Ricci with a sigh. "In 1955 he was found dead in Paris, officially suicide, but the circumstances were suspicious." "Do you think he was murdered?" Matteo asked, his tone full of incredulity. "I'm not the only one who thinks so," Ricci replied, her gaze fixed on Matteo. "Moretti tried to sell the information, but no one wanted to buy it. Either they were afraid of the Vatican, or they simply didn't believe it. And then he disappeared." Matteo nodded slowly, taking in every detail. And the documents? They're gone, Ricci said with a shake of his head. But before he died, Moretti spoke to a journalist. The story was suppressed, but copies survived. So it's true, Matteo muttered to himself. These tunnels, this library, do they really exist? And that's why we're here, Ricci stated, his voice carrying a weight of responsibility. We need to find out if these stories are true, and if they are, protect that knowledge. Matteo looked at Ricci, his eyes shining with determination. I am ready to continue this investigation, Your Eminence, but we need to be careful. I agree, Ricci replied, standing up. What is at stake is much more than we can imagine. As Matteo left the room, he felt a new sense of purpose. The journey he had begun was more dangerous than anything he had ever faced, but he was determined to move forward, guided by the search for truth and understanding. Every step he took brought him closer to the mystery surrounding Africa and the secrets hidden beneath its surface. The path forward was uncertain, but Matteo knew he was not alone. With Ricci's support and his own determination, he was ready to face whatever came. The environment was absorbing, filled with muffled murmurs and the characteristic stillness of a space where secrets intertwined with time. Matteo, sitting in a corner of the Vatican library, was immersed in a set of documents that testified to the untold story of Africa's underground. The yellowed paper and faded inscriptions were a window into a past that many preferred to keep hidden. Father Matteo, a soft voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Sister Lucia, a nun who worked in the archives. She approached silently, carrying with her a small wooden box. Sister Lucia, Matteo greeted, looking at the box curiously. What is this? Something I found in old records, she explained, placing the box on the table. I thought it might interest you. He carefully opened the box, revealing a collection of old letters. The handwriting was elegant, dating from the early 20th century. Matteo took out one of them, starting to read it out loud. My dear brother, what we found beneath the desert sands defies comprehension. Tunnels and chambers that do not correspond to any known civilization. I believe we are facing a discovery that could change everything we know about the origins of societies. Matteo stopped, looking at Lucia with wide eyes. Do these letters mention the tunnels? Lucia nodded, her face serious. They are from a missionary who worked in the region for decades. He sent these letters to the Vatican, but they never received a response. Were they ignored? Matteo asked, his voice thick with disbelief. Not ignored, Lucia corrected. Suppressed. Matteo ran a hand through his hair, absorbing the weight of his discoveries. This fits with what we know. The Vatican has been holding on to this information for so long. But why? Lucia questioned, her voice thick with frustration. What are they afraid of? A rewriting of history, Matteo replied thoughtfully. If these tunnels really contain traces of advanced civilizations, it changes the entire historical narrative. And the Vatican has always had an interest in controlling the narrative. Lucia looked at him, her gaze steady. And what do we do now, Father? Matteo took a deep breath, his determination growing. We need to continue the investigation. There are more documents to be examined, more truths to be unearthed. Lucia nodded, sharing the same purpose. I'm with you, Father Matteo. Let's find out what's really there. With Lucia's help, Matteo delved even deeper into the archives. Each document, each letter, was a step closer to unraveling the mystery of the African underground. They were aware of the risks, but the search for knowledge and truth could not be ignored. On a particularly quiet afternoon, as Matteo was examining a detailed map of a region in Egypt, an unexpected visitor entered the room. It was Cardinal Ricci, his expression more somber than usual. Father Matteo, Sister Lucia, he greeted, his voice thick with urgency. We have a problem. Matteo looked up, worried. What happened, Eminence? We have received news that other organizations are starting to show interest in the tunnels, Ricci explained. If we are not careful, we may miss our opportunity to protect this knowledge. What do you suggest we do? Matteo asked, his mind already formulating plans. We need to be quick, Ricci replied. We must organize an expedition. We need to see with our own eyes what is there before others arrive. Lucia squeezed Matteo's hand, a gesture of silent support. "We're ready," he stated, his voice firm. Ricci nodded, satisfied with his determination. "Then let's get ready. We don't have time to waste." As Ricci left the room, Matteo and Lucia exchanged a look of determination. They knew they were in a race against time, but they also knew they were on the right path. Each step brought them closer to unlocking the secrets buried beneath Africa, and they were ready to face any challenge that came their way. The silence in the room was almost palpable as Matteo looked around, trying to absorb the impact of what he had just heard. The revelation that the Vatican could be withholding such significant information for political and economic reasons was more than surprising. It was devastating. "Father Matteo," Ricci's voice cut through the silence, his tone thick with urgency. "We need to understand that we are dealing with something that goes beyond simple archaeology." "But, Eminence," Matteo replied, his hands restless on the table. "If all this is true, if the Library of Thoth really contains information that could change the basis of Christianity, how can we justify keeping it secret?" Ricci took a deep breath, her features hardening. "It's not a question of justifying, Matteo. It's a question of protecting. We have to consider the impact this would have on the faith of millions of people." Matteo frowned, looking straight into Ricci's eyes. "But what about the rights of Africans to know and explore their own heritage? Shouldn't we, as men of faith, support truth above all?" Before Ricci could respond, the door abruptly opened, revealing a young Vatican assistant. He looked distressed, his eyes wide. "Eminence, there are rumors that a private organization is planning an expedition to Egypt. They may be after the Library of Thoth." Ricci exchanged a quick look with Matteo, tension growing between them. "Looks like we're running out of time," he declared, his voice full of determination. Matteo nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility intensify. "We need to act quickly. We cannot allow such valuable information to fall into hands that would not respect it." Lucia, who had remained silent, finally spoke, her voice firm and resolute. "If the truth is about to be unearthed, we must ensure that it is used for the good of all, and not for manipulation and control." Ricci nodded, her gaze serious. "Prepare yourselves. We will organize our own expedition. We must be the first to arrive and ensure this knowledge is treated with the respect and reverence it deserves." As Matteo and Lucia prepared for their journey, the atmosphere was filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Every step they took brought them closer to the center of one of history's greatest mysteries, but it also put them on a dangerous path where powerful interests were at stake. In the following days, Matteo found himself involved in a series of meetings and preparations. There were maps to be analyzed, contacts to be made, and a team to be formed. Every detail was crucial, and time was a luxury they didn't have. Finally, with everything organized, Matteo, Ricci, and Lucia met on the runway of a small airport outside of Rome. Around him, the sky began to lighten, promising a new day. "Are we ready?" Ricci asked, looking at his companions. Matteo looked at the aircraft in front of him, his emotions conflicting but his determination unwavering. "We are," he stated, his voice firm. With one last look at the city they were leaving behind, they boarded the aircraft, ready to move forward in the search for the truth. The journey they were about to undertake was more than a simple expedition. It was a quest for knowledge that could redefine history, and they were determined to ensure that the truth was revealed to everyone, no matter the cost. The plane carrying Matteo, Lucia, and Ricci flew over the Egyptian desert as the sun rose, turning the sky orange and gold. The vastness of the desert below was impressive, a sea of sand that stretched as far as the eye could see. Matteo looked out the window, trying to imagine the secrets buried beneath that immensity. "How long until we get to the meeting point?" Lucia asked, adjusting her backpack on her lap. His eyes were fixed on the landscape, but his mind was on the possibilities that awaited them. Ricci consulted a map, her eyes carefully analyzing the coordinates. "We should arrive in about an hour. The local team is already waiting for us with the necessary equipment." Matteo nodded, his hands firmly gripping the seat. "Do you think we'll have any problems getting there? I mean, with other teams possibly already in the area?" Ricci considered the question, her gaze serious. "It is possible that we are not the only ones interested, but we have allies who will help us avoid conflicts. Our priority is the discovery and protection of finds." Silence fell again as the aircraft continued its journey. Matteo closed his eyes for a moment, reflecting on the magnitude of the mission. He wondered what it would be like to face a truth that could challenge everything he knew about his own faith. Finally, the plane landed gently on a small makeshift airstrip. A group of men waited nearby, waving as the new arrivals disembarked. Matteo, Lucia, and Ricci were quickly welcomed and taken to a convoy of vehicles that would take them to the tunnel site. As soon as they arrived, the team began unloading equipment and preparing to enter the tunnels. The desert heat was oppressive, but the excitement in the air was palpable. Everyone knew they were about to enter unknown territory. One of the guides, a man named Khalid, approached Matteo as they prepared. "Father, I've heard many stories about these tunnels. They say they are haunted by ancient spirits." Matteo smiled, trying to ease the tension. "I hope these spirits are willing to share their secrets with us." As the group gathered at the tunnel entrance, Ricci gave a short speech, reminding everyone of the importance of their mission. "We are here not just to discover, but to protect. What we find should serve to enlighten, not divide." With that, they entered, their flashlights cutting through the darkness of the cave. The air was cold and damp, and the walls were covered in ancient writings that no one could read. Matteo ran his hand over one of them, feeling the texture of the stones, trying to imagine the hands that had carved them. "This is where our true journey begins," said Lucia, standing next to Matteo, her eyes shining with a mixture of awe and fascination. "We're about to touch the past in a way few have ever experienced." The exploration continued. The group advanced cautiously through the winding tunnels. Each discovery was documented, each symbol carefully photographed. The feeling of walking into a place that could rewrite history was overwhelming and exhilarating. After hours of exploration, they found a larger chamber with a ceiling so high that their flashlights could barely illuminate it. In the center, there was an ancient altar surrounded by statues of unknown figures. The room seemed to vibrate with an ancient energy, and everyone fell silent, taking in the enormity of what they were witnessing. "This is just the beginning," Ricci murmured, her voice echoing in the cave. "What we found here is just the tip of an iceberg. We need to continue to explore, understand, and protect." Matteo nodded, his mind racing with the implications of what they had discovered. He knew the journey was far from over, but he also knew they were on a path that could change the world forever. As they left the chamber, Matteo felt a new determination rise within him. They had a responsibility to truth, to history, and to humanity, and he was ready to face any challenge that came his way, in the quest to reveal the secrets buried beneath the African desert.